Hi, I'm Daryl Urbanski, and welcome to the Best Business Podcast. My mission is to help create 200 new multi-millionaire business owners. How? You'll do better when you know better. In my interviews, you'll hear from self-made millionaires, seven-figure business owners, authors, and world-class experts sharing how they did it so you can too without experiencing the same obstacles they did. When your life and your business grow as a result of what you're about to discover, please call me and tell me about it. The number to leave a voicemail is 1-888-844-GROW. That's 1-888-844-4769. Long distance charges may apply. Dial now to call me, connect, share your personal story of how my interviews have helped, or share your current challenges and frustrations so I can connect you with an appropriate course, coach, or help you if you connect. Now, if you like this interview, please share it with a friend you think will benefit. They'll appreciate it, and I will as well. You can also connect with me on social media. Look for Daryl Urbanski, D-A-R-Y-L, Urban Ski, U-R-B-A-N-S-K-I, and add me so we can be friends. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy what I've prepared for you right here, right now. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always, and today we have a repeat guest, Meiyoko Taylor. And Meiyoko is an internationally recognized #1 best-selling author, entrepreneur, and personal development coach. He works out of New Jersey with people from all across the world, inspiring them to find their amazing and tap into their hidden potential. He aims to educate and empower others through speaking, coaching, and neuro-linguistic programming. In particular, his mission is to help 100 million people take charge of their lives, find their passion, and unlock the greatness within. I've asked him to join us here today to talk about how to build a platform around our passions and our authentic selves, how to get known as the go-to people for what we want to do. So Meiyoko, thank you for joining us, my friend. How you doing?
I am awesome, Daryl. How about yourself, man?
I'm good. People can probably tell I've got a bit of a cold, but otherwise everything's good. It's on the tail end out, so it sounds a lot worse than it is. But other than that, I got very little to complain about. So life is pretty good.
Awesome.
But I'm interested in this topic because there are a lot of people out there that are, there's a lot of people talking about how to build a list or build a platform and get known, and you've got a different spin on it. And I want to know, how is an authentic way different than an inauthentic way?
Absolutely. So the main difference is that we as people, and to understand where I'm going with this, let me backtrack a little bit. When you're looking at a lot of these personal development people, speakers, leaders, teachers, business gurus, all these people, one of the mistakes that we make is we try to become these people instead of taking the knowledge and the expertise that they give us and applying it to our authentic selves and who we truly are. So that's one of the mistakes that we make. So what happens is we get temporary success, and then we hit a roadblock, and then we wonder why certain things that may have worked 1 or 2 years ago are no longer working. And the big problem is you haven't built that authentic, loyal following that represents, you haven't positioned yourself in the marketplace as who you are, what your beliefs are, what your core values are, what you represent, what your life experiences are. And I think that's truly important, and that's something that people are missing today. If you really look at how business is being done and how leadership is being talked about, you often hear people say, we want more authenticity. We're tired of, the bubblegum leadership presentations and how to grow your list this way, like me, because I'm successful and I made all this money. But the real way to build an organic following and be that thought leader in your particular industry is the power of your experience. And I cannot stress that enough, because that is one of the things that's going to be unique to you. Nobody has your experience. I mean, it may be similar, but nobody has your particular story. And this is what people are going to resonate with. This is how you create that brand. And not only that consumer, you're going to create a multi-generational household of consumers and people that buy your product. It's interesting how you look at consumers and product now. Back in the day, man, it was like we were drinking the same sodas that our parents were drinking. And if you have kids now, your kids are drinking the same soda that you were drinking. If you really look at how business is now, we're not creating that multi-generational consumer anymore. It's that one and done. It's cranking out product. I'll give you a perfect example. I was playing with my Apple iPhone today. I have an iPhone IX. Well, they are cranking out these new phones and this software. Well, the volume on my ringer doesn't work. And sometimes the sound of my text messages work.
Mm,
So I may get a text and not even know who it is, and that's $1,000 phone. And
right.
my point is when the late Steve Jobs was here, one of the things that he focused on was quality. He didn't immediately push out a phone right away. You may have had to wait 3 to 4 years for another iPhone because he made sure everything was right. He made sure the consumer was satisfied and the quality was there.
Mm,
And that that created a brand, a great product, and you had more customers then.
mm,
So what I'm saying is when you are building a platform, when you do it based on authentically who you are, you are going to, it's a more longer coming, but it's going to be a lifelong experience. You're going to create generational consumers. Not only that, you're going to create people that whenever you put out something or a course or a product, or you put out a message that you want to resonate with people, they're already there because they know who you are.
mm,
So a lot of my clients and people that follow me, when I speak to them, oftentimes it's like they already know me because
mm,
they've listened to a podcast or they've read an article or
mm.
they've had a referral for someone else. So it's like I get a lot of people that say, you know what, I feel like I already know you, because that's the message, that's the value that I want to give to them. I don't want them to feel like they are talking to a stranger or this is some new brand offering them something that everybody else is. I want them to feel like that they are stepping into, wow, this is somebody that I feel like I know you. I feel like I resonate with you already, and it's a very comfortable and a connected feeling. We're not connecting to our consumer anymore. We're just not. And as an entrepreneur and as somebody that is building a brand, it is important that you connect with people. That's where the currency is, man. Currency is in the connections. It's not in the product itself. It's how you make people feel.
Mm.
And this is what we're missing out on today, man.
Yeah, there's a couple really good gems in what you said because, first of all, yeah, a lot of people think you get a customer to make a sale, but they don't realize you make a sale to get a customer. So if a sale is a golden egg, the customer is the goose who lays them. So if I'm selling protein powder, right, I'm not just trying to make a sale, I'm trying to get someone to buy my protein so I can get them to buy it every month or come to me every time they need a refill. And like you're talking about, it's the money's in that longer term relationship. I really like what you said also about how like building the brand because I have a bit of a beef with brand marketers because I feel
Hmm.
like brand marketing is a way to hide behind results. So a sales rep can't say I made 40 calls and I made no sales, but I'm putting the brand out there, right? That's not going to fly with the manager. And with
Exactly.
advertising, that's what it is. Advertising is about bringing people through the door. Whenever I see like there's a marathon and someone sponsored, they get the little logo on the bottom of the banner. I'm like, really, that was hopefully that was to make a relationship with the people organizing the event. They're not really hoping to make anything off of having their logo on the banner because no one's going to, you know what I mean? Like, doesn't mean anything to anybody. That's like being well dressed at a party, sitting in the room and not talking to anybody. So I like that because when you build the brand is your relationship. It's based on the interactions. You and I have a brand with each other over time that's being
Exactly.
established. Yeah.
Exactly. And here's what I want people to understand. Nowadays, the way that it should be done, and it's not even just nowadays, the way that it should be done is that people actually buy the experience. It's not the product anymore. It's the experience. So this is what people are buying into. How do you make them feel? How at the end of the day, what was their experience with the company or with the brand? That's what people are going to remember. Because if it was just a product, it could be a great product, but if you made them feel inadequate, if the customer service was horrible, if they didn't have that great experience, they are not going to be a repeat consumer. What you're going to find is that person drops off from your brand. And I'm saying consumer, it could be a product, it could be a service, it could be any type of level of value that you may be able to give, but you're not concerned about how you are making your consumer or the client or the person feel. And this is generational. This does not matter your race, your color, your profession. This transcends every industry,
Hmm.
period.
Yeah, you got to be about what you're doing, and you got to be. That's part of it. You got to be about it, like for the sake of doing it. I think part of what attracts people to me is, I mean, I've been doing the same thing for years now, where I did it even before I was good at it. I would just do it for free for people. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that's a real valuable thing. If you're in it just to make some, I mean, obviously we all got to pay bills at the end of the day, you know, and I get that, and it's about sales and leads and marketing, but it kind of comes through the authenticity part. That's part of why I wanted you to open up on that, because we've all had experiences with companies where it comes across like they're just trying to get my money, you know, like you just comes across as really sort of inauthentic. And sometimes it depends on the value of the thing. Like what I mean is, I'm in the Philippines right now, and I often try to like go from A to B, and I just hop in a trike, right? It's like a guy with a motorbike that's got, you know, it's like anyway, it's got like a third wheel type thing attached to it, and that's not like I'm just trying to get where I'm going. So it's, you know, it's not, I don't necessarily care so much, but sometimes guys, you can tell they're just trying to extort you for mass amounts of money. When you're like, buddy, I take this trip every day. I know it's not, you know, I know it's not $20. I know it's a $5 trip or whatever, right? So it's important to be that authentic, because that's why people come to you. Like you go to your friend's house and hang out because that's where you go to have a good time. You go where you know, you go to this place to buy whatever. Every time you buy flowers for your girl, you go here because they've got the best flowers and they give the best deals. It's just like they're all about it. It's not, it's more authentic. Like that's who they are. When you go to spend your money on something, if you have the choice between three options, and one is kind of new and just figuring it out, and we all have to start there anyways, right? So there's a newbie who's charging what everyone else charges. There's the guy that's kind of in it, but he's really just trying to make a bunch of money, and you know, that's his goal, and the prices are higher, but the quality's the same. And then there's a person who maybe charges in the middle of the three, but they've been at it for 20 years, and they just kind of, you know, like they've got all this wealth of experience. You want to get that because you know that they're going to be more familiar, more experienced, and you know, and they just live and breathe and eat this stuff. Like I remember when I was training martial arts, I had a potential to choose between different teachers, and one guy was a single guy who had been doing it for 15 years, and he just like was all about it. Or I could go to the Mick Dojo up the street, you know, that's there and it's pretty, and they got, you get what I mean? Like one was built
Absolutely.
to make money, the other one was all about it. And consumers today are so savvy.
And it's interesting that you're saying that, because the word experience still keeps ringing in my ears. It's really all about the experience, and you can't really give someone that particular experience. One, if you don't have a vision. Two, if you don't have a definitive voice or a message or something that's going to resonate with people. And three, you have to connect with them. You know, they have to be able to relate to you. And this is what people are missing. And they're wondering why sales are down in their organizations, or as entrepreneurs, they're not as successful, because they're not being themselves. It sounds so simplistic, but I'm telling you, so many people are trying to emulate what somebody else is doing. This expert coaching platform that's going to make you six figures in 30 days, or how to build a list of 5 to 10,000 people in 24 hours. All these particular things, and just like there are get-rich schemes on the infomercials and QVC and all these home shopping networks, it's the same thing in the coaching industry, the personal development industry, business, healthcare, any industry that you wanna talk about. The same thing applies, and people are still trying to follow the leader, and the leader is following them somewhere that's not going to be effective. And this is why we have this vicious cycle and this chain of events where it's just a vicious cycle for them. They never experience the progress in their business and their professions that they desire. And this is why. This is a very, very big reason why. And that's what decided me to, and that's why I decided to create, you know, a course, you know, that'll offer a solution to these people, man.
So what do you recommend to people who are starting out and struggling?
I recommend with them, and I think I may have covered this a little bit on the first time I've been on the show, and thanks again for having me back. I think one of the biggest things is people don't know where they're going. Their vision is distorted. Like I was saying before, they fall into these programs and these courses that say that they're going to be this amazing coach and make all this money in, you know, 4 to 6 months. And I'm going to tell you now, it takes work. Unless you have a massive following that you can convert already, I mean, it takes a lot of work. You're going to build it. You're going to have to build that platform, you know, by yourself, grassroots style. And I think that's the big deception. And what happens is people make that vision as their own, and it's not. It's someone else's. So you have to determine what your vision is. That's first and foremost.
I agree. And you know, before I even had this podcast, I was fortunate enough to talk to some of the people behind Salesforce and the growth of that that business. And one of the things that came out of that conversation that they had learned is that until businesses are around $1 to $5 million a year, they said, at least in their experience, they don't really know who their customers are or why they're coming to them. And that blew my mind because
Wow.
$1 million a year, that's a fair amount of volume. Do you know what I mean? Like, to do $1 million, yeah, but that's where you get these companies that are doing like 100 million a year or 50 million a year. They are really clear on who their customer is and why they come to them. Because the biggest inhibitor to growth is that, okay, all things being considered equal, people want to do business with their friends. All things not so equal, people still prefer to do business with their friends. So how do you infiltrate? How do you, if you're a teenager, how do you go to a new high school and all of a sudden instantly become the popular kid? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you go and meet a new group of people? How do you go into a new country, a new association, a new city, a new town? How do you just step in and have a way to not ruffle too many feathers, but still be like, hey, anyone that's interested in tuna salad, I got the best tuna salad in the world right here. Come for a free sample. And that's just an example. But how is that? And so that's the thing, is they're not really in dialed in on who their customer is. They're not really dialed in with who the customer is or what the pain point is. And so a lot of these businesses, you can grow $1 million businesses based off personal relationships, endorsed, people endorsing you and saying you do a good job and just kind of being out there and just a lot of hustle and grind that's focused. But to have a real business, you need to figure out that way to get someone that's completely new, never met you before, doesn't know the difference between you and, Tom or Joe, and have them get to know you, your story, what you're about, and why you're different than the competitors, and then trust you enough to give you their hard-earned money to help them with blank in their life. And that's the part where, when you talked about being authentic, that's really important. I mean, that's scientific advertising. Claude Hopkins, there we go. Claude Hopkins is made famous for Schlepp's beer, I think it was, where he really just outlined the story of what they go through to make the beer. And it wasn't necessarily different than any of their competitors, but the competitors weren't sharing that story. And it was an authentic story for them, like, how long they, how they cure the hops and how they transport it from A to B and all the care that goes into it and what kind of materials they use in the process. And so that's I think that's an important part of it, to be in it and like go.
Well, yeah, they what they did is they allowed their consumer to be involved in the process. And that's what many businesses, and I'm just going to keep harping on entrepreneurship because I'm sure a lot of your listeners are entrepreneurs or in some type of form of owning their own business. That's one of the biggest steps that a lot of people skip. They go business, sales, but at the end of the day, it's just, okay, who are you? What do you represent? How did you come up with this particular brand? What does your brand represent? Where are we going? Where is this brand going? Well, as a consumer, where are you taking me? What is the experience going to be like with you? And I think that's a very, very important component.
Yeah, I like that because that's what gets a lot of buy-in for Elon Musk stuff. Where are we going? I mean, SpaceX going to Mars, it sparked dreams of a ton of people. Tesla helping the planet get off of fossil fuels. I mean, that's sparked the interest of a ton of people. So it's where are we going? And that experience, it's that newness, that new technology, the fascination with all that stuff. That's really part of what brings it out. So I think those are good. Sometimes I struggle with because we know all the stuff about building a following. Like we've already been harping on this here. And I'd like to know some of your thoughts on how that applies. Because we're big on building a list and building a following and nurturing people and all that. But I mean, the holidays, at the time of this recording, the holidays were over like a month ago. And when I went to come home, I just bought a ticket. I wasn't a lead on anyone's list. Nobody nurtured me. You know what I mean? There wasn't like, you get what I mean? Like I just went and bought one. Like it happens all the time. Like sometimes I'm like, how did that happen? Because people are like, oh, well, you got to build a list and nurture them and stuff. And I'm kind of like, yes and no, but you just have to like, it doesn't take a whole day to recognize sunshine. So that's why I say, like, you just got to bet what you're about, because when it just comes through, like, you just tell. You talk about Apple. When you walk into the Apple store, you get a sense of their sense, their feel, like you say, the experience. It's totally different than if you walk into like a PC computer parts store versus an Apple store.
I mean, so I would ask them a question. And because I do agree with you, we spoke moreover on how people say, take my course, build this list in 30 days, however long,
right?
A certain astronomical number of people on a list. But my question is, before you even start to build that list, what is your purpose for the people that are on that list? I
Mm.
mean, what is your main objective? Is it to just have a bunch of people that you're converting a product to make money? Because if that's what your business is, you definitely have a very shallow format. That's going to be a churn. That's a churn and burn type of business. And usually it often leads to a lot of turnover. So you have to really feel, and that's why I go back to vision and really having a purpose for what you're doing. Because once you do that and you attract those particular people that are drawn to your vision, the purpose of the company, the mission, and the overall culture of what you're doing, then when you put a product out and then you're on a list, you're going to see high conversions. You're going to see people, not only are they going to purchase your product, if you're a speaker and you decide to speak somewhere, you'll start to see seats getting filled. If you're doing workshops or doing online summits and things like that, you're going to start to see some of the same people that are purchasing your products, that are following you around, that are liking your Instagram posts, that are liking your Twitter feeds, and all these different things. So it has to come from a place of authenticity, and I cannot stress that enough. That is the only way you're going to survive in your business in the near future.
So what do you think are some of the best habits or routines people that are extremely authentic have going on a regular basis?
Well, one of the things, and I can definitely say for me, is I'm constantly learning. Being in personal development, I cover so many different areas, but one of the things I always say is success is an inside job. So when I see anyone that comes to me, I'm lacking sales, I want to start my own business, or I'm having relationship issues, whatever it is, I often say to them, okay, that's great. I understand what you're here for, but what you're here for may not be exactly what you're here for. And then I explain it to them. So I go into a process and let them know every single problem that you have, whether it's professional or personal, it's something buried underneath the surface. It always is. It never fails. So with that being said, I constantly not only do I learn from my own experiences in life, because I'm not perfect, I'm continuing to grow just like everybody else. But one of the things that I constantly do is I constantly educate myself, whether it's reading, whether it's analyzing my own experiences, whether it's surrounding myself with people like yourself and other people that truly value personal development, that can give you insight and that you can grow with. And one of the reasons why I do that is the more I grow, the more value I can add to my particular clients and my market, the more content that I can give that's actionable and applicable, that they can really get some value from day one. I'm not really big on just saying you can do it and be the best that you can be, and then I'm not showing you something, or I'm not challenging you to take some form of action, because motivation without action is simply hype. I say that so many times. So I would say I'm always a student of learning. I think any thought leader, anybody in a position of power or authority or privilege, whatever you want to call it, should constantly be a student of learning. They should always be a student. I don't care if they're leading a country. I don't care if they're leading a corporation or a business, parent, whatever. You should always be in a place of learning. And in fact, everybody should. Every human being should be in a place of learning. So that's one thing that somebody that's very authentic is always going to do, because they're always going to want to better themselves personally and professionally. And that is a trickling effect, and their audience and their market directly benefits from that. So that's one thing. And another thing is they're brutally honest. They're transparent. If I say, if it's one thing that I differ from a lot of other people, I am so transparent, man. I mean, I can have a feature in Success Magazine and somebody will text me on Instagram, and I'll respond to them on Instagram, and I'll say, hey, you know what? Matter of fact, give me a call. Doesn't matter who it is, but that's just the person I am. I don't do that all the time, but just sometimes I'm like, you know what? Here's my number. Give me a call. What's going on?
Well, is that transparency or is that accessibility? Because to me, transparency is being...
It's accessibility, but what happens is when I speak to someone, I am very, very transparent about my own experiences. And that's what I mean. Like if somebody calls me and they're telling me they're going through something, or I'm on a client call, I have no problem being transparent about my own life to a healthy degree of where it's going to help me to resonate with that person, especially in what I do in coaching and personal development, and talking about leadership and mindset and limiting beliefs and all these different things. it is important for me to let my potential client know that these are things that even I still go through to this day. Just because I have these titles does not mean I'm a master of all these things, because personal development, you're going to be activating in a space of personal development until you stop breathing. I mean, it's just reality. Nobody gets to the point where it's just like, you know what? I don't have to learn anything ever again in life.
Oh, that doesn't
How
exist.
miserable of an existence would that be?
Right. Well, it goes against natural law. I mean, evolution is a fact of life. Every day you change a little bit. Anyone that's had a kid or a plant or a pet knows that things continue to grow and evolve and progress.
Absolutely.
And that's the whole joy of the whole thing. It's like a story unfolding for you, with you. So I really appreciate that transparency. It's funny. It reminded me. Another guest we had on one of our shows was talking about. I think it was Kim Barrett talking about Instagram marketing. They're saying one of the things that they found is that really nicely polished professional photos hurt conversions with Instagram ads because people couldn't relate to it. But if you had something like a photo that looked like a selfie or something you made with your phone, that you and your friends and family, it got more attention and it was more real to people. And I think that's a big thing, because in today it's so easy to prop up a website and buy like a templated site that's so pretty and shiny, and people do judge things. I mean, people do judge things based on their looks and covers, but that's the thing is people do that so quickly that there's a lack of faith and confidence. And so that's where the authenticity lets people connect to you. And that helps build that rapport. If they know what you've gone through, what you've been about, if they know about your ups and downs, that is an anchor point for them. If you're willing to be vulnerable, you know what I mean? Then all of a sudden,
absolutely,
yeah, that's something. And you have to be careful, because to do that, you have to open yourself up to public criticism. I know a guy that was teaching people how to speak on stage, and he confessed that his brother had walked in on him. He was 10 years old, and him and a friend of his, another boy, were like playing with each other, like exploring themselves sexually. His brother like walked in, and that's something like, he was in a room of like 100 people, and he's on stage.
Wow.
and it was so funny because at the front was one of his I guess one of the members of his coaching clients. She was a therapist, and like like when it came to the Q&A, she kept bringing it up again, and like, it's so good that you were able to talk about that, and it's such like the closure. And he just kept, every time he was just turning so red in front of everybody. But what was so funny is now when I see his marketing, it's funny because I like, whatever, I don't really care. I don't care who you are, what you do, as long as it's behind closed door. And he's not gay, and it doesn't matter even if he were. But just confessing that moment that he was, that was vulnerable for him. And it's funny because even though I knew what he was doing, afterwards I kind of pay attention to him a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like I know his story a bit more. It's like I know some of the dirty secrets he's got. So when I hear about something, I'm paying closer attention, not even out of a space of judging, but do you know what I mean? Just because I'm, like you said, I was involved. Like, man, he confessed that. That's a big deal. I don't know if I could, if I could confess something like that. And we've all done it, right? Like, we're all like, whatever, we're all humans. But it's, and so that's that vulnerable. But I'm sure out of an audience of 300 people that, I mean, I remember I did a post on Facebook back when Obama made it legalize gay marriage. And I did this post to make it sound like I was coming out of the closet, and I was like, and the kicker was, I'm a lesbian trapped in a man's body, right? Like, I'm a guy that I love women. I'm a lesbian because it was trendy, right? So I'm like, I'm a lesbian. I love breasts. I love women. I love their smell, and I've been fighting it all these years, and I can't deny it. I am a lesbian trapped in a man's body. And when I did that, I sent out an email that I had some people that were like really like hardcore religious people that, that like, I can't believe this. I followed you for years, and like, I don't like, and they were like these really emotional responses for people that were hating on me because I made a joke about being a lesbian trapped in a man's body. And so when you talk about being authentic, this whole rant it's about being authentic in the good and the bad, but also knowing that you have to be vulnerable, and that, there will be backlash, and you have to accept that. And if you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen.
I think you made a very good point, a very, very good point about that. So I definitely want to say this to anybody who's listening. You have to get to the point, even when you're in your authentic self or your brand or who you are as a human being, you cannot be concerned about what other people think. Because the moment, and what I mean by that is negative criticism and things like that, you cannot be concerned about that. Because what happens when you do is you'll try to please everybody, and you will lose every piece of who you are.
Yep.
And you'll find you'll be off track on your vision. You'll not be as productive in your professional life as your personal life.
Yep.
Everything will just go downhill, man.
Yep.
I've been to the point where you started listening to any and everybody, and you were living a version of somebody else's life and not your own.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want to go down
We're
that
all
route.
inclined to be people pleasers to a certain extent, unless that's trained out of us at a young age. Generally speaking, like, you know, just even like if you have a dog, the dog just wants you to be happy with it. You know, it just wants to get along, and that can be used against you. And like you said, like you can get pushed and pulled, being the singing and dancing bear, trying to appease people. I've seen behind the doors of some extremely large personalities that everybody on this call would probably know if I said their names out loud. And you know, not a lot of them are authentic. I don't want to throw shade, but there are ones that you feel like, you know, things look great, but they don't have everything figured out. And you know, and there's different challenges that come with different levels of success. And so maybe financially they're not worried about paying their bills anymore, but emotionally, you know, or their personal relationships, they're singing and dancing, you know, trying to keep everything appeal. They're trying to be authentic with their audience, and so they're talking about their personal life, but now they're involving people that are in their lives, and those people feel some type of way because they're getting feedback, right? Like because their stories are being told publicly, and they feel a way about that. Like it's not an easy thing for sure.
Well, it's interesting because, and oftentimes when I get interviewed, I tell my story about, 7 years being in a relationship, and it was definitely emotionally abusive, and we were at a space where we just knew that we weren't right for each other eventually, and it came time for that. I never mentioned the person's name. If that person's listening to the podcast and different things that I'm doing, of course she knows who I'm talking about.
Right.
But out of respect for who she is and her own life and what she does, I mean, you have to definitely use a level of, and that's why I said before, you have to be balanced in your transparency, because there's a way to be transparent with who you are and not really throw someone else into the fire based on that particular experience.
Yep. But people will still feel a certain type of way, even though she knows, and you're not mentioning names or anything of that. I mean, all it does is take a bit of Facebook research. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. I know because I've experienced it, and I've seen some people wait. Like I'm not big, but I've experienced it, and I've seen some big people like nationwide television celebrities, them experience it because of that. Like they don't mention names and all that sort of stuff, but people just don't, like, they see it and they know you're talking about them and they feel some sort of, you know what I mean? It causes a reaction within them. All I'm trying to say is it's all I'm just trying to do is articulate that there's because a lot of people be like, yeah, I'm authentic. There are real challenges through being authentic, and success has many fathers, but failure is an orphan. Nobody wants to touch that. And so being authentic, it's something you have to be committed to, I think, definitely.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about failure, and I think I have to bring this up since we're talking about, what branding really is and being your authentic self and having that being very influential in your business. I did a podcast, and that's another thing. I started a podcast of my own, and it's not perfect, but it's authentically who I am and who the other person is. So we just went ahead and did it. And we have people signing up and subscribing, people who had been following me. So that's another, very, very good example. But it's funny because when it comes to failure, one of the things that I said is failure is never a problem. Failure is always a process. And a lot of people don't truly understand what failure is, especially entrepreneurs and business people, because they feel like they don't have a 5,000 member list, or they're not making six figures in their coaching business. They just suck. And that's not really the case. It just may be something that's going on with their vision or their message, or they may be happy making $60,000. Success is different from person to person. Just because you're not a millionaire does not validate who you are. And I really want people to understand that failure is a process. It is a part of life when it comes to your business, your personal life. If you look at it when you were a child, you didn't learn to walk right away. I mean, you were rolling around on the floor, for a very long time. And then when your legs got a little bit stronger, you started crawling all around the room outside. And then you got a little bit stronger then, and then you started standing up and falling down. Anybody that's had experience with children know exactly what I'm talking about right now. But then all of a sudden you get to the point where the kid is just they're all over the place now. They're walking. So what I'm saying is progress does not happen right away.
Mm-hmm.
Failure is a part of the process, and I get sick and tired of people looking at failure in such a negative light. It's necessary, and when I hear messages of fail faster or fail forward,
Hello,
I
everyone.
think
Thank you for joining us.
failure
My name
has
is
been
Daryl Urbanski,
negatively
your host as always. And today
translated
we have
so
a
much. When
repeat
people
guest,
hear the word,
Meiyoko
it's just
Taylor.
like, oh my
And
God, I
Meiyoko
suck.
is an
My life's
internationally
over. I
recognized number
failed.
one
I'm a
best-selling
failure.
author,
No,
entrepreneur, and
that's
personal development
failing
coach.
is good.
He works out of
You're
New
only
Jersey
a
with people from all
failure
across
when
the
you
world,
stop
inspiring them to
trying, when you
find
just
their
completely give
amazing
up.
and
You don't
tap
want to be
into
a
their hidden
failure,
potential. He aims
but
to
you
educate
definitely
and
want to,
empower
you are
others through
going to
speaking,
have,
coaching, and neuro-linguistic programming.
failing
In
and
particular,
failures in
his
your
mission is
life,
to
but
help
you don't
100
want
million people take
you don't
charge
want
of their
failure to
lives,
encompass
find their
who you
passion, and
truly are.
unlock the
I mean, if
greatness
you're not
within.
succeeding at
I've
anything in
asked him to
life,
join us here
obviously
today to
something
talk
is
about how
wrong.
to build a platform
It's
around our
There's something
passions and
going on
our
underneath the
authentic selves,
surface, as we
how to
said
get known as
before.
the go-to
But
people for what
but
we
but
want to
looking at
do.
failure,
So
man,
Meiyoko, thank you
it's
for joining
part of
us,
the
my friend. How
process.
you doing?
And I think if people really looked at it that way, they wouldn't
I'm
get
good.
so
People
down
could
in the
probably tell I've got
dumps,
a bit
man,
of a
every
cold, but
time something
otherwise everything's good. It's on the
doesn't go
tail end out,
particularly
so
right. And if they
it
look at it
sounds a
as a
lot worse than it
process,
is.
as long as
But
you
other than
stay
that,
persistent and
I
take the
got
right
very little to
actions,
complain
you're
about.
going
So
to see
life is
progress.
pretty good.
I live it,
I'm
so I
interested
know
in
what I'm
this
talking
topic
about.
because there are a lot of people out there that are, there's a lot of people talking about how to build a list or build a platform and get known, and you've got a different spin on it. And I want to know what kind of differentiates kind of your off, like what makes
Oh
it,
yeah, oh yeah.
how is an authentic way different than an inauthentic way? I don't know if I formed that question right, but you get what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, hmm,
It is.
hmm,
Hmm. Hmm. Exactly.
hmm, 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 hmm,
Hmm. Absolutely.
hmm, hmm, hmm. Right. Hmm,
Right.
hmm, Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Very good analogy. Absolutely. And I think people sometimes they have a misconception about how much time they're really spending. Most people aren't self-aware and really actually sit down with themselves and say, you know what, how much time am I
Hmm.
really focusing on my business? And I'll give you a perfect
Yeah, there's a
example.
couple really
I
good
said in
gems in what you said
2017, I said,
because,
you know what?
first of all,
I said, I
yeah, a lot
am
of people
going
think you get a
to
customer to make a sale,
connect
but they
with a
don't
certain amount of
realize
people.
you make a sale to get a
I
customer.
think it was
So
five
if a
people. I said, I'm going
sale
to
is
connect
a
with
golden
five key
egg, the
influencers.
customer is the goose who
And then
lays
I
them. So if
said,
I'm protein powder,
what I'm also going
right,
to
I'm
do
not just
is
trying to make
I'm
a
going to be
sale.
featured
I'm
in
trying to get
major
someone to
media
buy my
publications.
protein so
That
I
was
can
my
get them to
goal.
buy it every
So I'm going to
month
build
or come to
relationships
me
with
every time they need a
journalists. I'm going
refill.
to build
And like you're
relationships
talking
with
about,
people
the
that have
money's in
access
that
to media.
longer term
And to make a long
relationship.
story short,
I really like what you
I
said also
was
about how
featured
like
in
building the
several
brand, because
publications,
I
and
have a bit
I
of a
got
beef
one
with
on
brand
Success Magazine
marketers
coming out in
because I
March.
feel like brand
And that was
marketing
one
is
of
a way
my
to hide
ultimate goals.
behind
One of my
results.
ultimate goals was
So a
to be in
sales rep
Success
can't
Magazine.
say I made 40
When I
calls
was
and I made no
kind of didn't
sales,
know
but
who
I'm
I
putting the
was,
brand
my
out there.
authentic self, what my
Right? That's
goal
not
and
going
my
to
mission
fly
was,
with the
and things like
manager. And
that.
with advertising,
Success
that's what
Magazine
it
is a
is.
huge outlet.
Advertising is
Everybody
about
knows that.
bringing people through the
So
door.
it's
Whenever
interesting.
I see like marathon and
Once
someone
I got
sponsors,
into
they get their
Success
little
Magazine,
logo
I
on the
said, you
bottom
know
of the
what?
banner. I'm
I
like,
said, that's
that
pretty
waits the
cool. All
fleet
right,
to make
on
a
to the next
relationship
thing.
with the
I
people
celebrated a little
organizing
bit.
the
On to the
event.
next
They're not
thing.
really
And
hoping to make
somebody
anything
that
off of
knows me
having
that
their
knew that was
logo
one of my
on the
lifelong
banner
business
because
goals
no
was
one's
like,
going to, you know what I
dude,
mean?
you're
Like,
going to
doesn't
be in
mean anything to
Success
anybody.
Magazine.
That's like being well
And
dressed
I'm
at a
like, you know
party,
what?
sitting in
That's
the room
cool.
and
I
not
said,
talking
but
to
there's so
anybody.
many other people that I have
So
to
I
help.
like that because
I said,
when you
there's
build
so many other
the
people
brand is
out
your
there.
relationship.
And
It's
I said,
based on the
that gives me
interactions. You and I have a brand with each
a
other
good
over
platform
time
and a
that's
good
being
level of
established.
credibility
Yeah.
to continue to do what I love to do. And it's amazing how your mind changes once you are keyed in and geared in on your authentic self, the value that you're giving to other people, and how that truly fits into the essence of who you truly are. I mean, a lot of the things that most people focus on and the superficial things start to become, I mean, they're means to an end. But at the end of the day, you start to realize what's truly important. So I say to the entrepreneurs and to the business owners listening, you have to really, really buckle down and really consider what your authentic message is, who you are, how that resonates in your business, and what's your why. I know that sounds cliche because a lot of people say that, but what is your why? Exactly. What is your why? You made a good point in the beginning of this podcast, or maybe in the middle, how you were talking about something that I say all the time. It doesn't make sense to me to listen to your parents, and when they're saying, go to college to be a doctor, you spend all this time in
Hmm.
college,
Yeah,
and
you
then
got
you
to be
work
about
all
what you're
these
doing,
long
and you
hours,
got to
and being
be.
a
That's
doctor, if
part
you
of it.
love
You
to
got
do
to
it,
be
that's
about
fine.
it,
But
like
it's
for the
something
sake
that you
of
don't love to
doing
do.
it. I think
You did
part
it
of
because
what
your
attracts
parents
people
did
to
it, and
me
now
is,
you're
I mean, I've
55,
been doing the
60,
same
70 years
thing
old.
for years now,
And
where
then you
I did
say,
it
you
before I
know
was
what,
good
I'm
at it. I would just do
retired,
it free for people. You know what I
and
mean?
my
So it's
kids are
like,
graduated
I think it's
college.
a real valuable thing.
Now
If
I'm
you're
going
in
to
it
do
just to make
something
some,
I
I mean,
always
obviously we
wanted
all
to
got to pay
do, which
bills at
was
the end of the day,
travel
and I
and
get
see
that,
the
and it's about
world
sales
and,
and leads and marketing,
spend a
but
little
it kind
time
of
with
comes through.
myself.
The authenticity
Why do
part,
you
that's
have to
part of why I
wait
wanted you to
until
open
you're
up
not
on
even
that, because
physically
we've
able
all had experiences with
to
companies
fully
where it comes
enjoy
across
these
like they're
things?
just trying to get
It
my
makes
money.
no
Like
sense to me,
you
Daryl.
just,
It
it comes
makes
across
no
as
sense,
really
but
sort of
that's how
inauthentic.
society
And
has
sometimes it depends on
designed,
the thing. Like what I
going
mean
into
is,
education and how the
I'm in
transition
the
of
Philippines
life is
right now, and
supposed
I
to be.
often try to
I don't want to
like
wait till
go
I'm
from A to
70
B,
years old
and
to
I just hop on
travel
a
and to
trike, right? It's
experience
like a
things.
guy with a
I don't do
motorbike that's
that.
got,
I mean, that's
it's like
crazy
a,
to me.
anyway, it's got like a third wheel type thing attached to it, and that's not like, I'm just trying to get where I'm going. So I don't necessarily care so much, but sometimes guys, you can tell they're just trying for
Some of
mass
the best
amounts
ways
of
to
money.
reach out to me,
When
they
you're
can
like,
find
buddy,
me on
I take
Instagram.
this
We
trip every
mentioned
day.
that.
I know it's not,
Meiyoko
I know
Taylor,
it's
it's my
not 20
first name,
bucks. I
M
know
as
it's a
in Mary,
$5 trip or whatever, right?
EIYOKO.
So it's
Last
important
name
to be
Taylor,
that authentic, because that's why
Taylor.
people
It's
come
also
to you.
the
Like,
same
you
on
go
Twitter.
to your
You
friend's
can
house and
follow
hang
me
out because
on
that's where you go to have a good
Facebook
time.
as
You
well
go
at
where
official
you go
Meiyoko
to this place
Taylor.
to buy whatever. Every
And we were
time
talking
you
about
buy
branding
flowers for your
and
girl, you go
really
here
being
because
your
they've
authentic
got the
self,
best
having the right
flowers and they give the best
mindset,
deals. It's just
marketing and
like
things
they're
like
all
that. I
about it.
do
It's
have a
not.
course
It's more
called
authentic.
Brand
Like,
Your
that's who they
Authority.
are. When you go to spend your
And
money on
it's
something, if you have
launching
the choice
on the
between three
25th of
options, and one is
January.
kind of
I
new
don't
and
know when
just
this is
figuring
going
it
to
out,
be
and we
aired,
all
but
have to
if it's
start there
aired,
anyways,
after that,
right? So there's the
know that it's
newbie
out.
who's charging what
And they
everyone
can
else
actually
charges.
go
There's the
look
guy
at
that's
and
kind of
inquire
in
into
it,
the
but he's really
program.
just trying
The
to make a
website
bunch
is
of money, and that's his goal, and the prices are higher, but the quality's the same.
www.brandyourauthority.com.
And then there's a person
And
who
this is
maybe
something that I
charges
put
in the
together
middle of the three,
with a colleague
but
of
they've
mine
been
by the
at it
name
for
of
20 years, and they just
David
kind of,
Simons.
they've
And
got all
one of the
this wealth
reasons
of
why we did
experience.
it, very
You want to
quickly
get
to explain it,
that
is
because you know that they're
I
going to
didn't
be
have
more
anybody
familiar,
help
more
me.
experienced, and
I didn't
and
have
they
any
just live
PR.
and breathe and eat this
Public
stuff.
relations companies
Like, I remember when
rejected
I
me.
was
They were
training
too
martial arts,
expensive.
I had the
All
potential
the
to choose
courses
between
that I
different
wanted to
teachers,
take,
and
they
one
were just
guy was a single
astronomically
guy
expensive.
who had been doing
So
it for
I built
15
a lot of this
years,
stuff
and
on
he
my
just like
own,
was all
and I
about
built
it.
that brand
Or
on
I
my
could go to the
own. So I wanted to
McDojo
show
up the
people
street,
on a
that's there, and
shoestring
it's
budget or
pretty, and they
something
got.
very
You
cost
get what I mean?
effective,
Like,
how they
one was
don't need
built
a
to
public
make money, the
relations
other one was
agency right
all
now,
about it.
when they would actually need
And
one,
consumers
if
today
they
are so
ever need
savvy.
one. How to get your mindset right, how to focus on a vision, what are some of the things that you need to do right now to bring power into your brand, and then how to market it also at the same time. It's www.brandyourauthority.com, and it's BRAND, your, YOUR, authority.com.
Mm. Mm, 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 mm.
Absolutely, Daryl, man. I look forward to it, man. I'll catch you on the flip side.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give to them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember, taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.